Thank you, Speaker. In opposition?
Please proceed.
Speaker, supporters of this bill have said that it's time to fish or cut bait, or as our colleague said earlier, get off the pot. Well, Mr. Speaker, when you're constipated, you can't get off the pot. Mr. Speaker, this project is plugged up with misleading statements by politicians. It's plugged up with mistrust. It's plugged up with overruns. It's impossible to make a rational decision, Mr. Speaker, on this. In fact, the only rational decision was one that we weren't going to hear, and that was putting the grade level option for Middle Street to Ala Moana. Mr. Speaker, for the people on my district and the people who have heard time and again that we're going to work this thing out, and what we've just heard from the Chair of Finance, if there's any indication of what the past is as a harbinger for the future of this project, we are still in deep doo-doo, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Further discussion, members?
Mr. Speaker?
Yes, Representative Thielen.
Thank you. First time, Mr. Speaker, on this measure.
Please stick to 1183.
Yeah, I'm floor amendment number 6, and I'm rising in opposition, Mr. Speaker.
All right, please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, you're probably aware that the Honolulu Transit Task Force released a report in January 2017, and it had option 2A that would not require any increase or extension of taxes. It would save between $3 billion and $4.2 billion, and the project would be completed 4 years sooner, Mr. Speaker. That is the Middle Street to Ala Moana at grade. So I look at this bill that is just extending the painfulness of the tax burden on our people, and now it extends it our neighbor islands as well as Oahu. We don't need to do that, Mr. Speaker. We can do something that is sensible, fiscally responsible, bring that down to at grade from Middle Street to Ala Moana, save nearly $4 billion. That's B with a billion. And that's the only thing that we should be looking at today. I understand the Senate has not accepted this version. So the issue is wide open, Mr. Speaker. We don't have a measure that's just going to go lockstep, okay, tax them, build away, and keep that sucker up there at 4 stories high, moving up to 7 stories. Can you imagine, Mr. Speaker, what that's going to do to the beauty of Honolulu, where Aloha Tower used to be the tallest building in the city? Remember that? We both are old enough to remember that, Mr. Speaker. Aloha Tower was the tallest building in downtown Honolulu. We both are. And what are we doing? We don't need to do it. We're not going to end up with a final measure today. The Senate's on a different track. We can be on the sensible track. Bring that sucker down at Middle Street. Run it on the street level. Save $4 billion and get it done 4 years faster, Mr. Speaker.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Further discussion on this item. Yes, Representative Tupola.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In opposition?
Please proceed.
Thank you. I want to echo the sentiments of my colleague. Also thank both of the introducers of this amendment because they put a lot of hard time, effort into this and thinking about this when really this is a city project. But it's been placed upon our shoulders because here we are at the 11th hour still debating how we're going to take care of this when it is a city project that we all have a feeling hasn't been enough effort that has been put on the city part, and that's why it's in our on our plate right now. You know, the few things that I do agree with that have been said is that there are huge misgivings about the management of this project. I would probably reword that as enormous misgivings, a huge amount of public mistrust that has been out there because of the way this project has been handled, about all of the overrun costs and now a second ask for more money. The second thing is that the counties need more TAT money. I would agree with that. I think that's a good thing. They definitely need more TAT money. And lastly, of course, all the schools need more money. So that's a good thing, obviously, but we're still talking about about a project that is poorly managed. I think the 3 lessons we can learn here is, 1, when we're talking about the responsibility of the city versus the state, we should all talk face to face. Because here we are talking as a legislature about what we think the city's doing, but we've had very little discussions face to face with them until it's the last minute of the last day, trying to figure out how we're going to push out all these dollars that they need. The second thing that we learned is that there's other ways to fund the rail. We were told this is the only way. The GE tax is the only way to fund it. We've obviously come up with multiple ways, with maybe them going and getting their Airbnb money that they're not collecting right now. Maybe they can reprioritize with the NBC Center, whatever needs to happen. And the last thing we learned is that all of these discussions should have taken place months ago, because here we are at the end of session with a few days left, and we're still debating on different versions of what needs to happen, when really they saw this coming. So these discussions should have taken place many, many months ago, so that we could all determine a bill that we like, have public hearing for the whole thing. We all are voting on the same thing, as opposed to where we are today with many versions of this bill, many different proposals on the floor, and very little time to take all of that into consideration and also get input from the stakeholders. And I do stand with the taxpayers that are looking at us, hoping that we make good decisions for us, because we represent them. We represent the regular people that don't have lobbyists and don't have big groups that are standing to support them on voting against a regressive tax or even more taxes that nobody really knows how this is going to play out at the end. Thank you.